Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome. This is Awesome Will here, and this is Gifted Magazine. And tonight's topic, it's going to be a very interesting topic, and it is one that is very critical. It is one that is very serious, and it is also sensitive as well. We're going to dive right into it, and I think that there needs to be a better understanding of what exactly is happening between man and woman, woman and man, etc. So, I'm not going to hold you long at all. But what I would like you to do is be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and also be so kind as to share this content, right? So, what exactly am I going to discuss tonight with you? What are we going to discuss, right? Let's get right into it. Every man she knew left her, but the baby they gave her stayed. Let's do it again. To those of you that didn't catch it, every man she knew left her, but the baby they gave to her, or the baby they gave her, stayed. Now, what causes abandonment issues in women from a young age? Abandonment issues can deeply affect women's emotional health, relationships, and self esteem. These fears often stem from experiences in childhood that create a deep seated fear of rejection, loneliness, or emotional neglect. Understanding the causes of abandonment issues can help women work toward healing and forming healthy relationships. In this live, we'll explore the psychological, environmental, and social factors that contribute to abandonment issues in women. Number one, understanding abandonment issues. Abandonment issues refer to a chronic fear of being left behind, ignored, or even rejected. This fear can manifest as clinginess, trust issues, low self esteem, or difficulty forming secure relationships. Women who struggle with abandonment anxiety often find themselves in unhealthy patterns such as people pleasing, codependency, or sabotaging relationships out of fear of rejection. I spoke about that on a previous video regarding women sabotaging a good thing. They oftentimes do it. Not only men, not only women, but men also. But we're talking about women right now. Hear me out. Number two, childhood trauma and its long term impact. One of the leading causes of abandonment issues in women is childhood trauma. Come on now. Now, we're going to stop right there. Okay? We're going to stop right there. And we're going to go here. I've created for you a short story in reference to what the discussion is about. Okay? Now, here we are. The title of this short story that I'm about to present to you is Whispers of Goodbye. Beginning of everything, Sophia had always feared love, not because she didn't want it, but because she never truly believed it would last. She had spent her entire life watching people leave her father, her first love, even friends who promised they'd always be there. So when she met James, she never expected him to stay. Yet he did. James wasn't just any man. He was patient, kind, and filled with a love that made her heart ache in ways she never thought possible. When he told her he wanted to be with her forever, she wanted to believe him. For the first time, Sophia felt safe. Then she got pregnant. Pregnancy was supposed to be a magical time filled with anticipation and joy. But for Sophia, it was a battle between happiness and fear. Every kick inside her belly reminded her of the future, a future that terrified her. Would James stay or would he leave like everyone else? James did everything to reassure her. He attended every doctor's appointment, rubbed her swollen feet, and whispered sweet promises into her ear at night. But deep down, a voice inside her kept whispering, he will leave. They always do. Chapter 2 of this short story, A New Life. The moment baby Olivia was born, Sophia felt an overwhelming sense of love, but also an unbearable fear. James held their daughter with tears in his eyes, looking at her as if she were the most precious thing in the entire world. But instead of basking in the warmth of the moment, Sophia felt cold. What if James left now? What if she was left to raise Olivia alone? The nights were long, filled with cries from the newborn and the silent sobs from Sophia. James tried to help, but every time he reached for her, she pulled away. You're going to leave, she whispered one night, her voice barely audible over Olivia's soft breathing. James frowned. Sophia, I would never. You will, she interrupted, eyes filled with panic, just like everyone else. Her words were daggers to his heart. No matter how much love he gave, it was never enough to quiet her fears. He thought having a baby would bring them closer. Instead, it drove them apart. Chapter 3 of the short story. Sophia's abandonment issues took a darker turn. She began to test James, pushing him away just to see if he would fight or stay. She accused him of not caring enough. She questioned his every move. She found reasons to argue, reasons to even doubt him. You don't really love me, she snapped one night, tears streaming down her face. James sighed, exhausted. Sophia, how can you say that? I'm here, aren't I? For now. James felt helpless. He adored her, but how do you prove to someone that you won't leave when they are convinced that you will. Days turned to weeks, and Sophia only grew colder. She was shutting him out, even as she clung to their baby, as if Olivia was the only thing tethering her to reality. Then one night, the words he feared the most escaped her lips. Leave. James froze. What? You need to go, she whispered, gripping Olivia tightly. You're going to leave eventually, so do it now. His heart shattered. Sophia, please. Tears spilled down her face, but her expression remained firm. Go. And so, with a broken heart, he did. Chapter 4 of my short story. The aftermath. The silence was unbearable. At first, Sophia told herself it was for the best. James was gone, but at least this way, she controlled it. He didn't abandon her. She forced him to leave before he could. But the bed felt too big. The house felt empty. And Olivia missed her father. Days turned to weeks, and Sophia realized the truth. James hadn't left because he wanted to. He left because she made him. Her worst fear had come true, but not because of James, because of her instead. She had pushed him away just like she had pushed everyone else. And now, for the first time, she was truly alone. Chapter 5 of my short story, The Breaking Point. One night, as Olivia slept peacefully in her crib, Sophia sat on the floor staring at the phone in her hand. Should she call him? Would he even answer? Her fingers trembled as she typed his number. The phone rang, and then, hello? Her breath caught in her throat. It had been weeks since she heard his voice. James, she whispered. Silence. Then he spoke. Sophia, is everything okay? No, she admitted, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. Nothing is okay. Another pause, then softer. Do you want me to come over? Her sobs broke through the silence. I don't deserve you. That's not what I asked. She swallowed hard. Yes, please. Chapter 6 of my short story, Home Again. When James walked through the door, Sophia ran into his arms. I'm so sorry, she sobbed against his chest. I was scared. I was stupid. I love you. I love you. I. He cupped her face, wiping away her tears. Sophia, I never wanted to leave. She nodded. I know, and I promise I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. James looked into her eyes, seeing something he hadn't before, understanding. She was ready to fight, not against him, but against the demons inside her. He pulled her close, then said, let's do this together. And for the first time in her life, Sophia believed that love could stay. Love is not about perfection, it's about choosing to stay, even when fears try to push it away. Sophia in James's story is a testament to healing, trust, and fighting for the love that truly matters. I hope that you've enjoyed. I had to go ahead and give you this short story so you would have a better understanding or overstanding or understanding of what it is I was, pretty much trying to get at. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to where we first began, utilizing this short story as a reference. And there's going to be some more information that I am going to include. I'll be sure to include that as well. Also, be sure to tap that like button. Be sure to share this content. And also, be sure to subscribe. Now, okay, give me just a moment. Just a moment. Okay. Now, we were at number two. What causes a woman to have abandonment issues or to suffer from abandonment issues? Number two, childhood trauma and its long-term impact. One of the leading causes of abandonment issues in women is childhood trauma. Traumatic experiences in early life can shape a child's emotional development, leaving lasting scars that affect future relationships. Some key childhood traumas that contribute to abandonment issues include, this is a good one, parental divorce or separation. Children of divorced parents often experience emotional instability, leaving torn between two caregivers. The absence of one parent, physically or emotionally, can create a deep fear of abandonment, making them wary of forming attachments in adulthood. Number Letter B. Here's another one: death of a parent or guardian. Losing a parent at a young age can create profound emotional distress. Women who experience this type of loss may develop an underlying fear that anyone they love could leave them unexpectedly, leading to difficulty trusting others. And it's totally natural. Some things we just don't have control over or control of. And things such as death, unexpected death, it happens. But when a person or when a woman has a deep rooted or such an emotional attachment, they feel that they've been built up to be let down, although the cause was natural. It's psychologically, this is the battle that they face, or these are the battles that they're facing, right? It's not necessarily you as an individual, you know? Okay. Now, childhood emotional neglect. This is a big one. Emotional neglect occurs when a child's emotional needs are ignored, dismissed, or invalidated. Unlike physical neglect, emotional neglect is harder to recognize, but its effects can be just as damaging. Women who grew up feeling unseen, here we go. Women who grew up feeling unseen or unheard may develop an intense need for validation and approval from others, right? The next one, abandonment in early childhood. Situations like being placed in foster care, adopted, or experiencing prolonged absence from a primary caregiver can contribute can contribute to deep-seated abandonment anxiety. Even if a child is later placed in a loving home, the initial experience of rejection or displacement can leave lasting wounds. Okay, just a moment. Just a moment. Okay, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and also share this content. All right. Now, number three, attachment styles and their role in abandonment fears. Psychologic, psychologic, psychologists, I'm sorry, define attachment styles as the way individuals relate to others based on early interactions with caregivers. Women with abandonment issues often develop one of the following insecure attachment styles: anxious attachment style. Women with an anxious attachment style tend to be overly dependent on their partners, seeking constant reassurance and fearing abandonment. They may become clingy, possessive, ooh, 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 I know all about it, or overly sensitive to perceived signs of rejection. Okay, now let's move on to the next one: avoidant attachment style. Avoidant attachment style. Some women develop an avoidant attachment style as a defense mechanism. They may struggle with emotional intimacy, push people away, as I mentioned in the short story that I had or that I presented to you. She was pushing him away, right? They may struggle with emotional intimacy, push people away, or fear relying on others. This behavior, that's why you see such masculine women now, because they've had to do things for so very long on their own without the parent or without a man, one that is a good example for the child in the household. So they decide not to date or to just see people periodically or just go through different stages of life or periods when they do date and when they decide they won't date, or however they decide to go about it. They've become so accustomed to doing things the way they feel a woman should do it, because as of now, without the man in the household, she's mom and dad. So, you know, it gets to a point sometimes that she doesn't know when to turn the masculine off. She shouldn't have to even be masculine at all. But due to the situation at hand and what's happened to her, this is all she know. This is all she know how to be, because she's raising a child, especially when it's a little boy. She doesn't desire, all of them don't desire to be masculine, but they've had to do things on their own for so long that this is the only energy they know, especially when they're raising little boys, to be men, right? Now, okay, push people away or fear relying on others. This behavior stems from a subconscious belief that being too close to someone will only lead to pain. Maybe she's been hurt before, you know? And women, man, they love hard, man. I'm telling you. They do. When they love you, man, ooh, they love you. They love a true one. When she really love you, man, she love, like I said, man, a woman that love you forever. She might not like you, but she love you though. There's a difference. You know what I mean? Now, Disorganized attachment style. A disorganized attachment style combines anxious and avoidant tendencies. Women with the attachment pattern may crave connection but simultaneously fear it, leading to unpredictable behavior in relationships. Right? There are so many different forms of abandonment issues. It's not just one form of abandonment, and it stems from so many different things, right? And this is amazing when you really break it down and dissect where this behavior is coming from. It's deeper than just the relationship in itself or the relationship that you have with that individual. They could have been a relationship previous, rather it be the father, rather it be a friend, etc. I mean, it's amazing when you really break the science down, or you break it down to a science. What exactly is going on in the mind of a woman that suffers from abandonment issues, right? Okay, the link between this is a good one. The link between low self-esteem and abandonment issues. Low self esteem is often intertwined with abandonment issues. When a woman has experienced rejection or neglect, she may internalize these experiences as proof that she is unworthy or love or of love and affection. This belief can lead to what? Here we go. What can it lead to? What is your prediction of what it can lead to? Time's up. Settling for toxic relationships out of fear of being alone. Come on now. Hmm? Settling for toxic relationships out of fear of being alone. And some women, they just have to have somebody. They might have been in a relationship for 3, 4, 5 years, and they decide, well, they don't make a wise decision as into why they should, take time off to heal. No, because they feel like the next person that they meet or the next individual that they have a relationship, she can bring all that baggage in there, knowing good and well, knowing, knowing that they aren't completely healed from the previous relationship. So now they bring all that luggage, all that baggage into a healthy relationship, or at least it started healthy. And then you get this, right? And it might not even be a good relationship with the person that they've selected to start another relationship with, right? Because they just can't be alone. They feel the need to be with somebody, even after a long-term relationship, after knowing somebody and probably living with somebody and seeing somebody every day consistently for 3 to 5 years. There is going to be some form of attachment. There is going to be some kind of attachment there. You know, you two go your separate ways, and immediately. And sometimes you might feel like, well, damn, the guy had to be there already. You know what I'm saying? Because we ain't been we we ain't been separated for not even a month yet. So the guy had to be there. You know what I'm saying? He had to be there before we even broke it off, or before we decided we gonna, you know, call it quits or whatever. That's not necessarily so. That's not necessarily so, because those type of women are settling for toxic relationships out of fear of being alone. You know how people joke about it, or women, they joke about it. Y'all have an intimate moment, or you may have a sexual relationship. You know what I mean? Or you might have your very first intimate, encounter, And y'all ain't serious. Y'all just having fun. And jokingly, she says, we go together now. We go together. That's an example. That's an example of what I'm talking about. Although you might not be the toxic man, you know what I mean? But it's her being unsettling. You know what I'm saying? Well, she's settling, but she's unsettling at the same time. You just so happen to be a better choice. But that's a trait of abandonment. Can't be alone. We had sex, so we're a couple now. You know what I'm saying? And they said, I'm saying jokingly, you know what I'm saying? But they be dead serious because they can't be alone, right? Because they have a fear of being alone, right? Now, constantly seeking eternal validation or external validation, right? Here's another one: struggling with self doubt and negative self talk, right? Now, how toxic relationships reinforce abandonment fears. Women with abandonment issues are more likely to end up in toxic relationships, as I mentioned, which further perpetuate their fears. These relationships can include A, emotionally unavailable partners. Being drawn to emotionally unavailable partners often stems from childhood neglect. Women may subconsciously choose partners who mirror the inconsistency they experienced growing up. Codependent relationship. Codependency is a common pattern among women with abandonment fears. They may prioritize their partner's needs over their own, becoming overly reliant on the relationship for their sense of self worth. Right? Now, here we go. This this is a huge one, y'all. You hear me? This right here is a huge one. Okay? Narcissistic or manipulative partners. Hmm? Make you feel guilty for something that you ain't do, right? Abandonment issues make you feel bad or try to make you feel bad about something you didn't do, right? Now, here we go. Narcissistic or manipulative partners. Women with abandonment issues are often vulnerable to narcissistic partners who manipulate their fears or maintain control or to maintain control. These relationships can be emotionally draining, reinforcing feelings of unworthiness and insecurity, right? And it oftentimes happens when, she has low self-esteem, right? Not only does she have low self-esteem, right? She'll take anything. She'll accept anything that she possibly can, as long as it's available. She don't care. You might be at the grocery store, or you might be at a shopping center or something like that, and you see this gorgeous woman, man. You know, you see this gorgeous woman, and she's with someone that looks like the total opposite. The total opposite. He might not be so attractive or whatever, but he was made for a broad. You know what I'm saying? So as a man, you can't be judgmental. At least I would hope you aren't. You know what I'm saying? Because like me, myself, I was made for the broad. So what another man think or what another man feel about me, that's their own personal, I mean, hey, that's personal for them. I don't really care what you think, but look at what I got though. You see what I'm saying? That's all matter, right? But in some of these cases, because I was made for the broad, God made me for a woman. You know what I'm saying? But in some cases, you can see that these women, you know, uh, they have low self-esteem. So they just go out and they choose any and everything. And in your mind, you might be saying, wow, like what does she see in this guy? And you might not see it because you don't care. You're a guy. You know what I'm saying? That's what guys do. They come up on all kinds of women. You know what I'm saying? Those that might be interested in them, but it might be other women that look at it or the situation or observe it in that fashion or in that way. Like, what do they actually see in this guy? You know what I'm saying? What do they see in this dude? Like, she's drop digger or family members or peers. Like, what does she see in this guy? You know what I'm saying? What does she see in this dude? Because she has low self-esteem and abandonment issues. That was the previous relationship of a narcissist, right? Now, social, this is important. This is very important. Social and cultural influences on abandonment issues. Beyond personal experiences, societal and cultural factors also play a role in shaping a woman's fear of abandonment. Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one right here now. Unrealistic relationship expectations. Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Unrealistic relationship expectations, right? Let's get into it. Social media, social media, and romanticized portrayals of love can create unrealistic expectations. Women who struggle with self worth may feel pressured to maintain the perfect relationship, fearing that imperfection will lead to abandonment. Stigma around mental health. Many women hesitate to seek help for abandonment anxiety due to the stigma surrounding mental health. They may feel ashamed of their struggles or worried that admitting vulnerability will push people away. Gender norms, gender norms, and emotional expression. Traditional gender roles often encourage women to be nurturing and emotionally dependent on relationships. This cultural expectation can make it harder for women to develop emotional independence and self worth outside of romantic attachments, right? Now, number seven, the psychological effects of abandonment and anxiety. The psychological effects of abandonment, anxiety. Hmm? What do we have here? Chronic abandonment, anxiety can lead to a range of mental health challenges, including depression, feelings of unworthiness, and rejection can contribute to persistent sadness and hopelessness, man. And hopelessness, right? And I'm going to tell you something too. With my experiences, you know, with my experiences, I've been with women, or, even if we were just having fun, the simplest thing triggers them to the point that they're depressed. You can say the simplest thing and it's always received wrongly. You know what I mean? It's always received the wrong way. They go into a state of depression, and in your mind, you like, I didn't hurt your feelings with what I said. Like, what other way am I supposed to say it? And you actually understand what it is I'm saying. You didn't say anything wrong. You didn't say anything wrong, nor did you do anything wrong. It's just their current state, and they've probably been like that for years. having low self esteem, right? Past relationships, things that happened in their life that you had absolutely nothing to do with. You had absolutely no involvement with what actually transpired within her life, right? But her feelings are her feelings of unworthiness and rejection being a contribution to persist, sadness, and hopelessness, right? Anxiety disorder, constant worry about being abandoned can lead to generalized anxiety or panic attacks. Hmm? Now, trust issues, right? Many of us have them. I'd be the first to admit I have trust issues too, right? Now, and it's for a good reason though, right? It has absolutely nothing to do with abandonment. That's for sure, right? Now, a fear of being hurt again can make it difficult to trust friends, family, and romantic partners. Self sabotage. Women with abandonment fears may unconsciously sabotage relationships to avoid the pain of potential rejection. Women with abandonment issues fears may unconsciously sabotage relationships to avoid the pain of potential rejection. Healing, like I mentioned earlier. Didn't I mention healing? The process of healing before jumping into another relationship that most women don't do. Not all, but you have a vast majority of women that aren't willing to go through or go throughout the process of healing, right? Before getting into another relationship. Now, healing from abandonment issues. The good news is that abandonment issues are not permanent. With the right support and strategies, women can overcome their fears and build healthier relationships. Here are some effective healing methods: therapy and counseling. Therapy is one of the most effective ways to address abandonment issues. Cognitive behavioral therapy. I spoke about this. Cognitive behavioral therapy. I spoke about this a couple of months ago. Cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT, inner child work, and detachment based therapy can help women process past wounds and develop healthier relationship patterns. Self compassion and inner work. Practicing self love and self compassion is essential for healing. Women can benefit from affirmations to challenge negative self belief, right? Journaling to process emotions and triggers. You hear me, ladies? Meditation and mindfulness to reduce anxiety. What comes next? Building secure relationships. Surrounding oneself with supportive, emotionally available people can help women rebuild trust in relationships. Healthy friendships, mentorships, and therapy groups can provide a sense of stability and belonging. Setting boundaries. Learning to set and enforce boundaries is crucial for emotional well being. Women with abandonment issues should practice saying no, prioritizing their own needs, and recognizing red flags in relationships. Women with abandonment issues should practice saying no, prioritizing their own needs, and recognizing red flags in relationships. Now, these are my final thoughts of this. Abandonment issues in women often stem from early childhood experiences, emotional neglect, and past trauma as well. These fears can lead to anxious attachment styles, low self esteem, and difficulty maintaining healthy relationships. Don't you think? However, with self awareness, therapy, and supportive relationships, women can break free from these patterns and cultivate emotional security. Healing is not only a mission, but it is also a journey. And every step toward self love and emotional independence is a step toward a brighter and a healthier future. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Abandoned and forgotten, right? We're going to go here. Abandoned and forgotten. And tonight's topic, y'all, is every man she ever knew left her, but the baby they gave her stayed. Every man she knew left her, but the baby they gave her stayed, right? Be sure, once again, to like, comment, and subscribe. Abandoned and forgotten. Women in ancient history who also faced abandonment issues. It isn't just the women of today or modern women or Western women, westernized women of today. It's not just them that suffer from abandonment issues. This is historical. Also, it didn't just begin. It's worsened, true indeed. It's worsened, true indeed, because they aren't getting the help that they need to heal from these toxic behaviors or these patterns. They're not taking the time necessary, or they're not taking the necessary steps, seeking the therapy and getting the therapy that they need in efforts of them healing and making them better, or having them in a better mental state, right? A healthier mental state, right? Now, here we go. Abandoned and forgotten. Women in ancient history who faced abandonment issues. Now, this is amazing. You got to dig this. You got to hear this, right? Throughout history, women have been at the heart of civilizations, shaping culture, politics, and family structures. However, long before the Bible was written, ancient societies were often brutal and many women faced the devastating reality of abandonment, whether by husbands, families, or entire communities. In a world ruled by patriarchy, laws, and survival, women had little control over their fate. Some were left behind due to societal customs, infertility, widowhood, or exile, while others were discarded for political or personal reasons. This YouTube live explores the historical elements related to abandonment, ancient societies, women's struggles, and resilience, shedding light on real and mythical women who endured the pain of being left behind. The reality of abandonment in ancient societies. In early civilizations, women's value was often tied to their fertility, family status, and ability to contribute to society. If a woman failed to meet these expectations, she risked abandonment, exile, or even death. Many women were forced to survive alone or seek refuge in temples among nomadic 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 tribes or in secret sisterhoods that provided support. Some common reasons for abandonment included, now this is during ancient times, right? Infertility. Women who could not bear children were often replaced, discarded, or sent away. Widowhood. In many cultures, widows were seen as burdens, leading to be, or leading some to be abandoned or forced into extreme measures. Political betrayal. Royal women were often abandoned due to power struggles. Come on, man. Come on, man. Did you hear that? This is political now. Political betrayal. Royal women were often abandoned due to power struggles, conspiracies, or even wars. Now, exile and punishment. Women accused of adultery or disobedience were cast out of their homes and communities. Religious or social customs. Some religious practices forced women into isolation, particularly in early tribal societies. Now this it's gonna get better and better here, right? Check this out. The myth of Lilith, the first abandoned woman. And there's something else that you don't know about Lilith, right? Not only was she the first abandoned woman, but she was also known as the mate or the spouse of Adam. And not only that, she is the very first recognized writer or poet in history, right? Now, the myth of Lilith, the first abandoned woman, question mark, the first abandoned woman. Before the biblical Eve, many ancient legends mention Lilith, a woman who refused to submit to man's authority. Why? Why wouldn't she? Right? Though her origins are debated, Mesopotamian and Sumerian myths describe her as Adam's first wife. Now, I'm gonna give you something on that as well. Not right now, but Adam's first wife. Did you get that? So who was Eve? If Lilith was Adam's first wife, right? Okay, who was later abandoned and erased from religious texts. According to legend, Lilith was cast out because she refused to be submissive. She wandered the wilderness, cursed to be alone. But instead of fading into obscurity, she became a powerful figure in folklore. Folklore symbolizing female independence, abandonment, and vengeance, right? While Lilith's story is often overshadowed by biblical traditions, it speaks to a universal experience women who were discarded for refusing to conform. Words of focus, ancient Mesopotamia, women, exile, Lilith, abandonment in mythology, rejected women, and female independence, right? Now, I have a correction. Lilith was the first wife, but who I'm talking to or who I'm talking about now was the very first poet and writer historically, right? Inhe Duana, Inhe Duana, the priestess who lost everything, right? One of the earliest recorded women in history, Inhe Duana, circa 2285 through 2250 BCE, was a high priestess of the moon god Nana in Ur or in modern day Iraq. She was not just a religious leader. Now, she was a religious leader and she was a poet or a writer as well, right? She was not just a religious leader, but also the world's first known poet and writer. And if you would like to do some more research on this person or this individual or this lady or this priestess, her name is Enheduanna, Enheduanna, or Enheduanna. E as in elephant, N as in Nancy, H as in Hector, E as in elephant, D as in Dan, U as in umbrella, A as in apple, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy, A as in apple. Enheduanna, Enheduanna, circa 2285 to 2250, right? BCE. However, her power and influence made her a target. During a political uprising, Enheduanna was violently removed from her position, exiled, and left to wander in despair. Her writings described her deep pain. Check this out. I, who once sat in the temple, am cast into the midst of thorns. My joyful music has turned to dust. She was eventually restored to power, but her experience highlights how powerful women in ancient times were abandoned when they no longer served political interests. Our words of focus, ancient priestesses, Enheduanna, exile, political abandonment, women in power, Sumerian history. Now, number three, Hagar. Now, many of you think, or for many years, or you probably think that Hagar is a man, or you always thought that Hagar was a man, right? Hagar, the abandoned Egyptian Slave woman. What? Slave woman? Yes, you heard it. Hagar or Hagar, Hagar. Hagar or Hagar, the abandoned Egyptian slave woman. Although she is mentioned in religious texts, Hagar's story predates the Bible. She was an Egyptian servant, likely from an earlier pre-Abrahamic culture, forced into concubinage, concubinage and motherhood as a surrogate, right? This is wow, as a surrogate, right? However, once her role was filled, she was cast out into the desert with her son, left to die, right? Now, what exactly does Hagar represent? Hagar represents thousands of enslaved, concubine, and forgotten women in early civilizations. Unlike royal women who were exiled for political reasons, women like Hagar were used and discarded without rights, homes, or even protection. Ain't that so? Now, her story resonates because it reflects the lives of many women in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and other early civilizations who faced abandonment simply because they were considered disposable. Words of focus: ancient slavery, concubines, abandoned mothers, Hagar's story, Egyptian servant women, or women, exile in the desert, right? The women of Sparta left behind for war. We're talking about abandonment issues with women. These prominent women in or even before the scripture, or before the Bible, before the word of God. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about world renowned women, from first writers and first poets, those having political influence, right? They too suffered from abandonment issues, right? Now, while Sparta is often celebrated for its warriors, Spartan women lived a what unique yet difficult life. Unlike other Greek women, they had more freedom, but they also suffered from abandonment in different ways. Spartan men were taken for military training at a young age, and when they married, they rarely stayed home. Spartan wives were often left behind for years, raising children alone, managing property, and enduring loneliness while their husbands fought wars they might never return from. This system normalized emotional abandonment, forcing women to be strong in a society where their primary focus was producing warriors. That was the primary focus, to produce warriors. Many Spartan women had to cope with losing their husbands permanently and raising their children as single mothers. Now we're going somewhere. We're going somewhere, right? Now, these two are our words of focus: Spartan women, ancient Greek abandonment, military culture, warrior wives, ancient motherhood, and struggles. It can be a struggle, right? Not it can be, but it is a struggle, right? Check this out. The exile, the exiled queens of Egypt, betrayed and isolated. The exiled queens of Egypt betrayed and isolation. Betrayal and isolation. The exiled queens of Egypt, betrayal and isolation. Ancient Egypt had powerful female rulers, but not all were celebrated. Many were exiled, erased from history, or abandoned when they were no longer politically useful. Politically useful. One such woman was Queen Ang Ankasinamu. Okay, Queen Akasinamu. Anke Senamu, right? The wife of the famous King Tutankhamun, 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 right? After his death, she was left politically vulnerable and abandoned, forced to plead for help from foreign rulers to escape a deadly fate. Another example, Queen Nefertiti, who mysteriously disappeared from historical records. Some scholars believe she was exiled or abandoned after falling out of favor. Even in a society that revered women, queens were easily discarded when they were no longer politically beneficial. Words of focus, Egyptian queens, royal exile, ancient betrayals, Nefertiti's disappearance, Anke Senamun's plea. Here's another one, widows and outcasters in India's Vedic age, ancient India's Vedic period, 1500 through 500 BCE, was a time of strict social structures, and women who lost their husbands faced a bleak future. Widows were often abandoned, forced to live in poverty, isolation, or even self immolation. Sati. Without male protection, widows had little hope for remarriage or social standing. Many were sent to live in ashrams, spiritual retreats, or abandoned in forests where they had to survive on charity. This widespread practice continued for centuries, with historical records showing how thousands of women suffered from abandonment after widowhood. Words of focus, ancient India, Vedic age, women, widows in history, abandoned wives, social exile, widowhood struggles. Now, there's going to be a part two to this because it's pretty extensive. It's pretty long. There's going to be a part two to this. I think that I've been on, long enough for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to finish up. We're going to start right there, starting with the legacy and abandonment, or the legacy of abandoned women in history. And we're talking about uh, abandonment issues, women and abandonment issues from today and even past times or ancient times. And there's still quite a few things that I'm going to cover other than this as well, uh, regarding leadership, uh, young men becoming king, the separation of the man and the woman, uh, the cultural or things that have, with the single parent, becoming more of a social norm or a norm in general. I'm also going to be discussing uh, the actual percentile, like right now, like right now in America, in the US, it's extremely high far as single man, single mother or single parent household, and we're leading in that category far as single mother household. And then I'm also going to talk about um, mothers wanting, mother because the father's no longer there, you know, and that's the entire. I'm going to give you a breakdown of it tomorrow. But the father's no longer there, but now she's looking at the child for companionship, or she's seeking the child for companionship because you know he left, but the child stayed. It's gonna get deep. It's gonna get deep. So I think that I'm gonna go ahead and conclude this portion of the discussion. Every man that she ever knew left her, but the baby that they gave her stayed. So this is Awesome Will here. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and also share this content. It'll be greatly appreciated. Just as I was sliding by, I decided that I'd slide on in and drop another live on you. I hope that you have enjoyed. Look forward to communicating with you again soon, very soon. And thanks for watching. See, man, sleep, bro. Especially to my working out in the morning. You got to have it.